Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am so excited about my guest today. I love her dearly. She's just one of my favorite people. So I'm going to read her bio and bring her on. So Melanie Herschorn wants to help you step into your spotlight as an authority. A publisher and book marketing expert for business owners, consultants, professionals, and speakers worldwide, she's on a mission to empower authors to share their message with the world. With a comprehensive background of over 20 years as a celebrity publicist, award-winning journalist in radio, print, and TV, as well as a clothing designer and entrepreneur, she has done it all. Melanie is uniquely positioned to support authors to step into thought leadership and make a big impact with their book. So, without further ado, let's meet Melanie. Hey.
Hi. Oh, you are truly one of my favorite people too. So the feeling is definitely mutual. And thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you. No, I am super excited. And I'm going to talk about something a little weird just to start, because we were talking, I was talking with somebody yesterday about intuition. And I brought you up from when we were at the Fun Friends.
Yep.
And it was just so, like, you didn't even remember saying anything to us.
No.
Which kind of blew my mind. So just to give the audience a little bit of background, we were at a conference together in Denver, and it was me and Mel and a few other people on the roof. And Mel was like, something feels off with my daughter. And we were like, what do you mean? And she was talking about the new babysitter and how whatever. And then later on, her daughter called and said that she didn't feel comfortable and there was something going on. And we looked at her and said, you said something about that earlier. And you were like, I did? And it was like, yeah. And so it was just so interesting because the whole intuition thing, people don't realize that, that it's real. And you were just such the example of it. So that was something else.
Yeah. And I doubted it. I doubted myself. It took me a bit to remember that I had said it to you. I knew that I felt it first thing in the morning. And then I said something to you, didn't remember. And then my daughter texted me and she's like, there's something off about the babysitter.
Yeah.
And that was it. We sent the babysitter home.
Yeah.
And thankfully we'll never know why we felt those things.
Yes, but you did. And she was smart enough actually to reach out to you. So she has good intuition too. So I know that's like not what we're going to be talking about at all, but I remembered, and before I forgot, I wanted to bring it up. But anyway, okay. So you are like one of my favorite people. I love all of the things that you do. I love all of the things that you've done. So why don't you tell the audience about Mel?
Okay. Well, you make me sound way cooler than I think I am, but
no, you're badass. No.
Well, that's a big compliment coming from you, Iris. So I grew up in Canada, where I always felt like estranged from awesomeness. I always felt like I was stuck in Canada and everything amazing was going on south of the border. So as soon as I could, I ran away to Los Angeles.
Wow.
Everybody knew where I was, and it was very orchestrated, so it wasn't really running away. But when I got to LA, I worked as a publicist for a couple years, and I was, walking red carpets with famous people, and I was working with this particular redheaded comedian who told me off on my birthday twice. And it was that moment, my 24th birthday, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Oh no, the redheaded comedian did that?
Well, I think of the redheaded comedian as a helpful lever that was pushed down and propelled me out of that onto the next thing.
Okay.
And that's when I it wasn't instantaneous, but very soon after I went and got a master's in journalism at University of Southern California.
Wow.
So that was a very difficult time because I was such a perfectionist at the time that I had to be the best at everything because I was also one of the oldest ones. Because a lot of people have graduated and gone right into their master's degrees. And there I had been, screwing around for 4 years, so to speak. So I graduated top of my class, which was a very cool thing, very cool feather in my cap. And then I was already married and my husband was living on the other coast. So I moved to Pennsylvania to be with him. And I got a job at a local news station in radio. And there I was on the radio for a few years doing, basically I was the afternoon news anchor of the NPR affiliate. And so I was reporting and doing, the news. And then I decided that I was going to have a baby because I had this thing that happened when I turned 30, which was this switch flipped on and went, I was like, I need a baby. And I was like, what? No, I don't even like babies. And then I was like, no, I need one. And so, I decided that I should have one because apparently I was desperate to have one. And, so I planned to have a baby in a non-election year because that makes a lot of sense. But I worked in an all-male.
I never knew this. I'm just.
So I worked in an all-male newsroom. Like I was the only woman in the newsroom, and so I was always trying to, get the stories on the air about people that the men never thought about. Like one time, I did a whole series on the wives of the senatorial candidates. I did a series on this was around the time, I think it was 2010 when there was the horrible Haiti earthquake. Mm-hmm. And the governor of Pennsylvania had decided to go to Haiti and rescue the children who were supposed to be adopted by American families and bring them back. I don't exactly remember the details of that story, but so he made a whole spectacle of that and he brought the kids. And all I could think about was, what about the kids in the foster care system here in Pennsylvania? So I did a whole series on stories of kids who were in the system, teenagers who were in the system. And it was magical, life-changing for me. For them, I mean, it was probably cool, but it was life-changing for me. So all that to say, that's what I loved to do. I loved to get people's stories shared. And anyway, so there I am. It's a non-election year, so I know that I'm not going to mess up the election coverage for the other men in the newsroom. God. And I'm 5 months pregnant, and I come into work, and I get called into my boss's office, and I am laid off.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Iris, that was definitely, the being told off on my birthday. This day was another day that really was a one of those moments where my whole trajectory changed because I came home that day. I had a neighbor. She was standing outside her house and I'd only met her a few times and I went and I sobbed on her shoulder. And all I kept saying was, I'm a nothing now. I'm unemployed and I'm unemployable. Because I had a baby in my stomach and who wants to hire a pregnant person? That was a long time ago now. I think things have changed a little bit, but I was fortunate because the local newspaper in that city, the managing editor was a woman and she called me the next day and she said, "Hey, we want you to come work for us."
Ah.
And I said, "I'm 5 months pregnant." And she said, "I don't care." And those 3 words it just changed everything. So all of a sudden there I was, this giant, like, waddling pregnant person covering the school district in that city. And my first day on the job, I got an above the fold on the front page. I got the front page above the fold story.
Wow.
And then, after doing that for a while, I had the baby, went back, worked there for a bit, but then we moved across the country again. And I was starting again. So I'm pretty good at that. I think that's, not everybody can just get up and start again a whole lot of
No, it is a talent. I've done it. It's a talent.
No, I figured you've done it because I know you. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I mean, you're right. Not everybody can do it and bounce back like that.
Right.
And yeah, I can totally see that. But go ahead.
So I get to Arizona, where I'm currently parked my butt, and I went, well, I could try to get a job as a journalist right now, but then I'll be paying a babysitter more money than I'm earning. So what do I do? And I had this sort of inkling, this idea that I couldn't get out of my head. I could not shake it. I wanted to design and manufacture breastfeeding clothing because I had not. Yes, laugh. It's weird and strange, right?
No, it's not. I mean, a friend of mine, what did she design? She designed like underwear for kids with, I don't know. But anyway, go ahead. Because nothing surprises me is what I'm getting at.
Okay. So I had this idea and I secretly always wanted to be a fashion designer. Nobody knew that, but I'd secretly always wanted to be. And so I figured out how. And I used Google and I found a lovely, lovely woman who is a friend to this day to design and manufacture it for me. And then I moved the production to LA and I was selling my clothes, and they were on Nordstrom.com. They were on Amazon. They were in boutiques in the US. I had in a boutique in Canada. And then I was like, okay, this is good. And, before we got on this podcast, I said, what would be helpful to talk about? And you were like, the journey. So, okay, I'm going to go deeper on the journey than I sometimes talk about, because I just want it to sound like as authentic as humanly possible. So the first mistake I made, I made a gazillion mistakes, but one of the bigger mistakes, and I shouldn't have said it that way because now you're going to laugh at me, but one of the bigger mistakes that I made was I had decided that I was going to move into the plus size nursing wear, because there was a demand for it. Sure. And I really did my due diligence. I had a fit model and I did a lot of market research, and I was so proud. I made 3 designs and I was so flipping proud of them. And I could not sell them. I could not sell these things. Why? And to this day, I still don't know. I got trolled hardcore on Facebook though. Why don't you make plus sizes? And I'd be like, no, we do. We have plus sizes. Like, we have them. This is, I'm so excited. And then the person would be like, well, they're not big enough. And I'm like, I can't please everybody. And so by trying to please everybody, I ended up pleasing nobody, I think. And so my third round of designs that I did, I focused back on the, extra small through size extra large, that size range. And I could see that no matter what I did, it wasn't working. So maybe it was my marketing. So I hired somebody that I knew to help me with my marketing. She had run these baby gifting suites So it's like celebrities have babies and then they get free things because they're celebrities. And so I had taken my clothes to these things and given them stuff and taken pictures with like, I don't know, like Scott Wolf from Party of Five, because he was definitely going to wear my clothes. And so I don't know. So
Oh my goodness.
all that to say, this woman helped me run the business into the ground.
Wow.
She was emotional.
That was not the right marketing person. Holy crap.
She was, well, you know, not only, she's good at marketing, but she was also very manipulative, and she would belittle me all the time and say things like, I don't know how you have a master's degree. You're really boring with your writing. And after a while, I started to believe it. Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, when you have somebody in your ear constantly telling you that you suck at something, it starts to seep in. Yeah, 100%. That sucks.
To believe it. And my husband was like, aren't you paying her?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, but you don't understand. So after about a year and $25,000 down the toilet, also known as in her pocket, I shut the doors. I couldn't even open my home office anymore. Couldn't do it. I was like, I don't know. I just like had an aversion to the room. And then, you know, yeah, it sounds great. I sell off all my clothes and then I end up 6 months later in a lawsuit over it. So it's like, not with her, with somebody else. And so like, I was just like, this is just such a toxic thing. I need it to go. Yeah. So once I was able to finally like sweep the dust away and start anew, I was like, what now? What do I do now? I have to do something. I'm not one of those people who can let grass grow under my feet.
No.
And so I kind of looked back at everything that I just said to you right now. And I found the through line, which was giving voice to the voiceless.
Ooh, I like that.
And only recently did I realize the reason that I do that is because I've always felt like I was voiceless. You know, growing up, I was always basically too much. I'm still too much, but I like me.
We all were, right? And we all are. And I'm going to say it, Michelle, get your wine out. Fuck it. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're too much for somebody, they're not our people. And we know that. So, because you are more than enough. You are not too much. Please.
Thank you.
I mean, it's true.
Thank you. I accept that. I take that in. And
receive that.
I receive that. I take it in and I receive it and it's here. And so what could I do to help people? Because I love to help. I was telling my friend yesterday, I was like, can I please do something for you while your husband is away and you have one kid under 1 and one kid who's a little bit older? She was like, no, I think I'm good. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
I need to do something for you.
I need to do something for you. I'm like, it's not about you. It's about me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
She's like, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll call you. I've been put out of a job with Instacart.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
I'm just kidding. So, but back to what we were actually talking about. I love to offer support, and I want to be able to support people. And I knew that I could support people with their marketing in a way that would make them feel good about themselves. Not make them feel as crappy as I felt working with that woman. So I hired a business coach, started going to local networking meetings, and my business coach was like, well, you're really good at writing. You should be a copywriter for other businesses. And I was like, I guess so. So I did. And it was only after I stopped working with her and I started working with another business coach that you and I both know, was I given the choice. And she said to me, is this what you want to do? And I said, you mean I get to decide? Like, talk about, I mean, it's funny, we go into entrepreneurship and it's like, well, we're going to be our own bosses. And yet I was the worst boss that I have ever had. And I worked in Hollywood, right? Where I had a boss making me buy him toilet paper, and worse. Wow. Thankfully, I never had to buy him cocaine. I knew people who had to buy their bosses cocaine. I never had to do that. So at least that. But so I made a choice, and I chose to help people with their marketing strategy. And authors started calling me right away. Out of the blue.
So is it a choice to help authors with marketing strategy, or just people with marketing strategy, and authors came to you?
And authors started coming to me. And when I realized that not only could I help them with the marketing, but I could also help them craft the book and get it out there in a way that is not predatory, because the publishing industry is so predatory.
Yeah.
It just felt like such a natural fit. And so that is the longest story I've ever told. And that's the end.
Well, I am honored, and I know my audience is honored, because it really is about the journey. And that's so amazing, that how you got from point A to where you are now. And now you have a successful business where your niche is you're helping authors with their marketing. And you also have a book, but we'll get onto the book later, because the book is cool. But since this is, about entrepreneurship and stuff, and we know why you became an entrepreneur. So there are people that are listening that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, right? They're going, maybe I want to start my own business. What advice would you have for them?
Well, first of all, if you think you should, that means you should. If you can't get it out of your head, you should absolutely do it. Because no regrets in life. I say that because I always see that funny, people get a tattoo that says regrets instead of regrets. So I just say regrets. Yeah. I think life is such an amazing... Okay, now I'm going to get a little philosophical. We are so lucky to be on this planet, living in these bodies, doing these things that we do. I've gotten really spiritual in my old age. Just
you and me both.
Yeah. And I, sure, I don't have a thigh gap, but my legs do what I need them to do. And that makes me so happy about them. So I don't know. I just managed to bring entrepreneurship into a thigh gap, but I'll wrap it up.
And nobody has ever done that on the show before. So you are first. So, there we go.
but I'll bring it back full circle here.
Oh my goodness.
We're so lucky. And if we don't take a chance, then we will never know if we could have done it.
Right.
And I always read those, what people say from their deathbed things. And it's those chances that weren't taken. It's the road less traveled, that Robert Frost poem. It's the, why didn't I just do it? Why did I get caught up in the inertia? Yeah. So don't jump in head first like I did, because then you might be jumping into a swimming pool with a foot of water and then you'll break your neck. So definitely be methodical about it. Unless
if you can, right? Because, yeah.
I would say don't quit your day job because you have a great idea.
I need to fix. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was going to say, don't quit your day job just because you have a great idea. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it in addition to whatever it is you're doing. And you will get to the point where you can make money from it. And sometimes it will require you to just go all in. And sometimes that's scary. And I think, going back to the spirituality piece, that so much of what you read as an entrepreneur goes into that spirituality piece because you really freaking have to have faith. Faith in yourself, faith in George Michael. No, faith in yourself.
George Michael. Because you gotta have faith.
We can sing after because you have a beautiful voice. Yeah. And in your ideas, in your mission, and in the fact that it's just going to freaking work out.
Yeah. And you have to really believe in yourself. I mean, I think that's like, a lot of it.
That faith has to be unwavering because you're going to hear from all the people in your life who are like, why aren't you just going to medical school?
Something almost just like fell. Oh my God, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, and it's funny because it used to be marry a doctor, marry a lawyer. Now it's like become a doctor, become a lawyer. So we've, at least thank God,
graduated. Yes.
We've graduated, yes. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard. And I think that with people, and I always say this, don't expect it to happen like that. Like people get into entrepreneurship and they're like, oh, I'm going to take like 3 weeks off and I'm going to go lay on the beach with my computer. No, you're not. You can lay on a beach with your computer, but you're not going to be being an entrepreneur because, you have to work your butt off. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. What is that like? Hashtag entrepreneur life or
yeah. Hashtag entrepreneur life. It's funny. We just got back from Germany for 2 weeks and Heather had, a week for work. And then I was supposed to do a week for work while we were there. And then we were going to do a week vacation. Mm-hmm. And 2 of my things got canceled. 2 meetings that I had got canceled. Yeah. And then I had 2 podcasts that I was supposed to do. Well, one, Kofi and I were supposed to do one, but then I had another one and I was just like, I'm canceling it. I just don't even care anymore. And it was funny because I ended up talking to a couple of people out there about business. I handed them my business card. So I ended up doing business while I was out there. Are they going to call? We'll see. But what I found really interesting was that as an entrepreneur, we're almost always on, even though we don't realize it. Even when we're off, we're on, right? Because we're always talking. For me, it's like, I'm so proud of what I do and I love what I do. And by the time this airs, I was in a situation that, ended in April, thank God. And it was done and, my wings were unclipped and, I could soar. But for 2 years, I couldn't freely. And so it was like, okay, now I'm in like this whole different country and people are going, oh, so Heather says that you own a marketing agency. Well, yeah. Oh, well, we probably need some things. Oh, okay. I said, do you need them in German? Joking around. And they were like, well, yeah. So, and it was funny because I started doing like Duolingo for German and I did it for like a month. And then like 3 weeks before we went, I stopped because I got so busy. So I forgot everything that I learned except Autobahn and 4 stripes means you can go as fast as you want, which was beautiful. But so I think that as an entrepreneur, it's like, if I was working for another company, I wouldn't have done that. I would have been on vacation. I wouldn't have even thought about that. But it was like, oh, hell, I can have a German freaking client. Okay. And they're a big company. Okay. I could do that. So, but it does take time. So you, I mean, God, you've done so many things and you landed on marketing for authors. And what I find really interesting is I truly believe that everything that we have done in life is the road to where we are now. And in 5 years, we may end up somewhere else because of where we are now and, all of that. and your road, and what I think I find the most interesting is people told you that you were a terrible writer. And you have a book and you're marketing for authors. So on you all. Number one. That's number one. But so, and we're in the Dames, and there are a lot of successful women in our group. And I think that we all have this, like, I almost call it like the Avatar connection, where everything is just connected. And right, like there's that, I forgot what it's called, what is it? Mycelium or something, where everything connects to all the trees.
Yes.
Right. That's how I kind of feel like there's this network of how we all lift each other up. So in saying that, how do you, when somebody comes to you and they're like, Melanie, I want to be an author and I want to write, and what do I do? Like, how do you help them? Like, if I came to you and I said, okay, someone said there's a book in me, what do I do?
Well, first of all, I'm going to get a really excited face like this because I love that. I think that when people finally get over the hump of, I can't do it, I don't have time, to, wait, I want to do this. It's magic. Because then we get to go into the ooey gooey stuff of, well, what's this book going to be about? Who do you want to help? How do you want to help them? And then I can help you craft the outline. You're going to, pour into your chapters. We're going to make sure that this book is the best book it can possibly be. With our publishing team, we've got editors and interior designers and cover designers, and we're going to create marketing to go with the book as you're writing it, as opposed to what often happens when authors, well, here, let me just tell you what happens. It happens every single day. And sometimes I feel like a one woman, like on a hill with a stake in the ground, and I'm going, no, this is not how you do it. And so that's me. What I see all the time is that authors they gather up all their money and they go, okay, I'm going to spend this amount. And then they spend all of it on the publishing. And then they do this great launch. Maybe they even pay like thousands of dollars for a party that their nearest and dearest will come to. And then maybe even they reach Amazon bestseller status. And then a month goes by and book sales dwindle. And then their heart sinks. And then they realize that they have no marketing for their book and no way to let people know about it. So they give up.
Wow.
This happens all the time. A lot of my marketing clients come in a year to 2 years after the book's published. And they say, okay, I'm ready to do it. And
wow.
Which is, it's very common that the book already happened and they realize that without marketing, nothing ever will happen. So when I'm able to help somebody from beginning to end, they don't run the risk of that, lag time, because we're building the momentum as we go.
Wow. That's amazing. So, because, you go on Amazon and you're like, okay, there's an Amazon bestseller. And then it's like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? Because like you buy a book on Amazon for $14.99 and the author gets what, like $3, $2, something like that?
Yeah, it depends on whether they've independently published and they get all the royalties, or if there's a publisher taking royalties on top of what Amazon's taking. So yeah, it can be very little money at all. You're not going to get rich on book sales.
Right.
You just don't.
So if you're an author, how do you make your money?
That's what we specialize in, is creating revenue streams from the book. So right now, I mean, just, an hour ago, I was on with a client and we are designing an entire course that she can sell to make money. That particular client also is designing a stuffed animal to go along with her children's book series.
Oh.
So there's so many different ways that you can leverage a book to make money. Another one is speaking, because, and I know you're really out there on the circuit.
I'm getting there. Not there yet, but I'm getting there.
You're on the journey. It's all about the journey.
Right.
So there are a lot of stages that won't take you unless you're an author.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I mean, having a book really solidifies your credibility. But when people don't know you have a book, it's not going to benefit you.
Right. So if somebody doesn't have a book, but they have a podcast, does that lend credibility as well, or?
Oh, absolutely it does. But it might not help you get on a stage that requires a book.
Right. I got what you're saying.
And you can always take what you do in a podcast and make that into a book.
Oh.
A lot about that repurposing stuff.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. So for our friends who are listening who are seasoned entrepreneurs, what's an obstacle that you've overcome that they may be going through now?
It's ye old imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Did you see the lights flicker?
They're saying you're not an imposter, or Jen Koken is in your electricity. I don't know. Something's going on. You spoke imposter syndrome and Jen Koken appeared. I'm going to be talking to her later. I'm going to tell her that's going to be freaking hilarious.
Yeah. So it's amazing because, you just, that voice in your head will just tell you can't do it. I was on a call with a gentleman last week and I was telling him all about, what I'm doing. And he's like, so what's stopping you? And I was like, I am. He's like, okay, so when are you going to get out of your own way? And I was like, I think now would be a good time to get out of my own way.
Gosh.
When you read that, people who are way, way ahead of us also suffer from imposter syndrome, people at the top of their game.
Oh yeah.
It's not that I wish that on them, but it definitely makes me feel like I'm not alone. But I think that I'm out of left field here, but I think that like the big names, like the Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Bezos, Jeff Bezos, I don't think they suffer from imposter syndrome.
That's because they're men.
Is that what it is?
I think guys, and again,
I mean, because
I am not bashing men, because I have had a couple of people go, "Ooh, the hell just happened to my computer?" I've had a couple of people say, sometimes you and your guests disparage, men, and I'm like, no, but at the end of the day, there is a privilege there that we do not have, and because of that privilege, am I saying men don't have imposter syndrome? No, because I know they do.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very closely related to someone who definitely has it.
Right. So with that said, though, they don't talk about it because they don't really emote. We do.
Yes.
So, and I guarantee you, Elon Musk has imposter syndrome. I mean, I've seen him on interviews and it's like, oh, dude, you need to believe in yourself a little bit more.
Interesting. But it's not ever called out for what it is.
Never. And that's why I think it's so important for women, right? I think that, and that's what I'm talking about, that, and I don't know what it's called, but where there's like that connection, is that we're all connected by this thread, right? Because we're all viewed through the same lens. And I think that what's happening now is, especially the past couple of years, women entrepreneurs are freaking not only coming out of the woodwork, but they're exploding. And they're exploding in a way that, like, I've never seen. Are they out there? Yes. Do you hear about them? No. Now? Oh, 100%. I mean, you go on LinkedIn and most of the content that's really good is from women. And they're talking about their feelings. And, every once in a while, like, there's this guy, Alex Miner, he's a video guy, and he took a step back and now he's starting to talk about his feelings, which I thought was really interesting. But for the most part, I think that we're more empathetic by nature, right? And so because we're empathetic, we can communicate easier, and we understand better, and we listen better.
We're just better. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, women, well, that's why they want to keep us down. But that's another podcast for another time.
We had the vote for over 100 years. Yay, us.
Oh, God. I just put a thing out where 50 years ago, right? Like 50 years ago, we got the right to use our own credit card.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Like, what? And you want to take more rights away from us? Not on my watch. So that's like a whole nother story. But that's the stuff that fires me up, right? It's like, we have to fight tooth and nail for everything. And we have to make it look easy.
In heels, backwards.
Exactly, right? Ginger Rogers. Yeah. But, I go back to like America Ferrera and Barbie, which was just, I went into that movie going, okay, whatever. And I walked out going, hell yeah. Like, okay, this is, but
I was crying. I didn't expect to cry in the Barbie movie.
Yeah. But what got me was the Oscars. Ryan freaking Reynolds got the goddamn Oscar, pardon my French. Greta Gerwig was overlooked and Margot Robbie was overlooked. It was like, what? Are you kidding me?
Well, and Ryan Gosling did, but he didn't win.
Ryan Gosling, thank you.
Okay. I said Ryan. He didn't win. Well, he did perform. But I think that we're not going to change everything, but we have to keep talking about it.
We have to keep talking about it, and we have to, I think we can change. I think leadership has to change.
Yes.
That's where the change happens. Like, in Hollywood, it's the movies, right? It's the directors. It's the producers. It was always male dominated. Now we're getting female, women out there doing this and not getting the recognition, which is like, pow, like, you got to be kidding me. So we just have to keep on pushing for it. And, I don't know, like the authors that you work with, but not even the authors, you being out there, being able to do what you do and do it well for the people that you're doing it for, I think is huge for you because you're a publishing house.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's exciting to say, it's exciting to say that I get to help people take their ideas and make them and solidify them and make them real and put them out in the world in a tangible way that can impact their lives and their business.
Yep. Now your book, let's talk about your book. How does your book impact people and their business?
Well, my book even has the word impact in it. It's
I
called
know. That's why I said that.
Here, well, I can just pull it off my shelf because this is such a narrow video here, and I just happen to have a copy of it right here. Surprise! It's called "Make a Big Impact with Your Book: Author Marketing Strategies for Long-Term Success," and that's my name right there, Melanie.
Right there, Melanie Herschorn, right there. Yeah. Yes.
So I'm going to tell you a little story about little Melanie. So it took me a long time to read. I don't know if you remember not being able to read. Most people don't. Do you remember not being able to read?
No, because I was reading really, really, really young.
Yeah. Most people, they don't remember. I was 6 and in first grade, and I was struggling. I've always had a really good command of the English language, but reading the words on the page, it wasn't that I had a disability or anything. It was difficult. And so I hated reading. Hated it.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I was in 4th grade that I came across a book by Judy Blume called Just as Long as We're Together. And I remember I read the back and I was like, this seems interesting. Took it home. And this was the first book that I ever read that the characters resonated with me so much. I could see myself in them. I felt like I was part of it. That's why I was always so much more into television, is because I didn't have to think about the characters. They were just presented. This was the first book. And so it was around that time that I thought, I want to become an author one day. And I never knew how that was going to happen. I never knew how I was going to accomplish that. When I was in grad school, I did my thesis on online dating, which within a year was already obsolete because long after apps became part of online dating. This was like so long ago, swiping right wasn't even like part of our vernacular yet. So I never knew what I was going to write a book about, and until I finally, about 3 years ago, started working on this book, and I was like, this is it. This is going to be what it is. And so now this, in these pages are my stories, but also my how-tos, how to take your book and do something with it so that people find out about it and that you can really make a difference with your book. And I don't mean you have to like cure world hunger. I just mean you get to like take your idea and your mission and put it out in the world. Because I think that what happens is people, back to imposter syndrome, I think people get really hung up about like, well, who's going to want to hear what I have to say? And I'm going to tell you that if nobody else does, I do. Which means if I do, there are going to be others.
Right. Wow. And I always say that, like even with this podcast, the people who are supposed to hear it are going to hear it. The people who are supposed to get something from it will. And if you don't write that book, then you're not being fair to yourself, and you're not being fair to the people that could learn from whatever you have to say. And I've always believed that.
Yeah. And like
any kind of storytelling.
The barriers to entry are gone. Mm-hmm. You do not have to be that person who writes a 35-page preamble about why this book is going to be so great, and somebody has to give you an advance and publish this book on your behalf. You can publish it under your own imprint. Yes, it does cost money, but gosh, you can make money with your book when you have all the creative control.
Yep.
And so you don't have to wait anymore. You can start now.
I love all of that. That's just so awesome. So for anybody listening who thinks they have a book in them, reach out to my friend Mel here. So where can people find you?
I'm everywhere, Iris. No, I'm
You're in the electricity. No.
I'm in the ether. So I hang out primarily right here on my butt in this chair, but also on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram are my top three. I have a website, which is the name of my company, VIPbookmarketing.com. And I'm around. I'm here.
Well, I, for one, am thankful that you're around because, again, you're one of my favorite people. What? I'm going to do something a little different. What do you want people to think of when they hear your name?
That they can do it. Whatever it is that's tapping on their heart, I want them to think, oh yeah, I can do that. She's reminding me that I have everything I need inside me and that I can do it.
Cool. And I have like so many things like on my brain right now. Okay. So if somebody wants to write a book, if they have that, there's like an impetus there. What advice do you have for that? Besides just do it. That's just simple. But what?
Sit down and start writing. And if it can take a long time, you'll see these things. It's like, write a book in a weekend. I'm like, God, that sounds terrible. I could never do that. I am not one of those people that likes to be put in a box and told, write for 6 hours of this day. Like, I can't do that. I don't know if I have ADHD. I know one of my children does, and I wonder if I do too. But the idea of being told that I have to do it in X amount of time is very stressful. So if you could do a half hour a day, that is huge. You are going to make so much, you're going to get so much traction in terms of your writing. If you can just put half an hour a day. And another thing is that you've probably got a lot of what you talk about already written down somewhere. So go find it. I started by coming up with the outline, and then I started going through things I'd already written. And blog posts I'd already done, and social media posts I'd already done. And I started just dropping them all in the files. And then I was able to go through it again and smooth it out and make it into an actual chapter. You input stories in certain places, you input client wins and testimonials in other places. And then all of a sudden this book starts to form in front of you. It's magic.
Wow. That sounds amazing. Okay. And I can't believe we're almost at an hour, but we are. So I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me and my audience. And the last question I'm going to ask is, what lights your fire?
Oh my gosh. Shopping. Shopping for designer clothes. That's probably not the answer I'm supposed to say, is it?
No, you be authentic. You be 100%. You say whatever you want. I mean, I love shopping for designer clothes. I just get yelled at when I do it. So,
yeah. Well, I don't always buy it, but I love to just shop for it. Fun story. When the world was shut down and I hadn't been into a store in a very long time, I was having outdoor lunch with some friends, and I said, well, what are we going to do after this? Because this was my first time in a restaurant in, probably a year. And my friend turned to me and she said, we're going to go shopping. And I said, what? And I started crying. And there's video of me crying about that I was going to go shopping again.
I want to see that video.
It exists.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience and I'll come right back. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out for an hour again. I I keep getting told that it goes by so quickly. And for me, it does. Like I could talk to Mel for like another hour easily. But thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. When you like, share, and subscribe, our numbers come up. We're at like thousands of downloads now. I think we're at like 6,000, which is like, woohoo. So let's get that number up. When you subscribe, you get a notification of a new episode coming out. And like I say every week, who does not want a new episode of the Cookbook? I mean, come on. So thank you all so much again. And yeah, until next time we meet, go out and find what lights your fire. See ya.